When we talk about unlocking the deepest levels of physical intimacy with a woman, most people rush to think about touch, technique, or some secret move, but that's not where it starts. It begins in a place most never consider: the mind. Yes, the mind. A woman's body responds in extraordinary ways, but only when her mind feels safe, seen, and connected. You could be the most skilled lover in the world, but if her thoughts are scattered, her heart guarded, and her trust uncertain, her body will not respond with its fullest potential. It's not about physical performance, it's about emotional preparation. You don't need 100 techniques, you need one powerful understanding. Her mind is the gateway. A woman carries the weight of the world in her thoughts. Her mind is constantly processing responsibilities, expectations, fears, memories, insecurities. If those thoughts aren't addressed, if that emotional noise isn't quieted, no amount of physical stimulation will lead her to a deep, releasing experience like squirting. That's why it's crucial to realize that intimacy starts long before the bedroom. It begins with how you speak to her, how you listen, how you make her feel valued without asking for anything in return. Every look, every gesture, every word you give her during the day plants a seed in her mind. And those seeds bloom later, when she feels emotionally ready, mentally safe, and energetically open. To make her feel mentally open, you must learn to slow down. You must learn the art of presence, not as a tactic, but as a truth. You must show up for her, not just with your hands, but with your awareness. Ask yourself, does she feel emotionally supported when she's with you? Can she be vulnerable without feeling judged or rushed? Can she let her guard down knowing you won't take advantage of it? Because the female mind is powerful, it controls everything. When she's mentally in the right space, her body becomes a canvas of sensation. But when her mind is blocked by stress, fear, or self-consciousness, nothing flows, nothing releases. Imagine this: a woman is lying next to someone who claims to care, but she's unsure if her body is being respected or just used for validation. That uncertainty creates tension. That tension becomes a wall, and that wall stops her from accessing the deeper levels of pleasure she is fully capable of experiencing. Now, reverse that. Picture her mind at ease. No pressure, no performance, just presence. Your calmness becomes her sanctuary. Your consistency becomes her peace. In that space, she breathes deeper. Her nervous system relaxes. Her thoughts slow down. And in that rare, sacred moment, her body becomes receptive. She opens up. She lets go. And then, what was once impossible becomes inevitable. But to get her there, you must work on your own energy first. You cannot bring chaos into her world and expect calmness in return. You must be grounded in your confidence, not arrogance. You must be rooted in your patience, not performance. If you come with an agenda, she'll feel it. If you come with expectations, her mind will put up barriers. But if you arrive with no demand, just presence, curiosity, and the intention to make her feel like the only woman in the world, everything changes. She'll begin to trust, and that trust is the most powerful aphrodisiac. Understand this truth: a woman's mind holds the switch. Flip that switch, and her body follows. Ignore it, and nothing you do will matter. That's why the real preparation doesn't happen under the sheets. It happens in the way you build emotional intimacy. That's the foundation. You have to make her feel emotionally nourished. Compliment her for who she is, not just how she looks. Touch her outside the bedroom in ways that make her feel loved, not just wanted. Protect her peace. Show her she's a priority, not an option. These things may seem simple, but they work because they speak directly to her heart, and that's where the transformation begins. Once you understand that a woman's ability to squirt is not about forcing a moment, but about unlocking a deeper release, you realize you're not just a lover, you're a facilitator of her freedom, and freedom only happens when the mind feels safe to surrender. So next time you think about taking her to new physical heights, ask yourself, have I made her feel emotionally secure? Have I shown her she doesn't need to perform or impress me? Have I created a space where she can be wild, messy, powerful, and vulnerable, all at once, without fear of shame or rejection? That's when her body becomes more than physical. It becomes expressive. That's when her pleasure becomes emotional, not just sensational. That's when her mind finally lets go of the need to control, and her body responds with a force so powerful it surprises even her. Because that moment of squirting isn't just a reaction, it's a reflection of how deeply she trusts you. It's the result of safety, not just stimulation. It's the embodiment of surrender, not just touch, and the door to that surrender is opened by the mind, not the fingers. Presence is everything. It's not just about being in the same room or sharing physical space, it's about being fully there, energetically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. When you are truly present with a woman, she feels it in every fiber of her being. And when she feels that kind of attention, that kind of connection, it shifts something inside her. Her walls begin to melt, her breath deepens, her body softens, her soul opens. That's the kind of presence we're talking about. The kind that can't be faked, hurried, or manufactured. The kind that commands the moment without speaking a word. A woman is highly attuned to energy. She can sense when your body is there, but your mind is somewhere else. She can tell when your hands touch her, but your thoughts are distracted. She notices the difference between action and intention, and if your intention isn't focused on her, not just on her body, but her energy, she will subconsciously hold back. Her nervous system will not fully relax. Her arousal will only skim the surface. You can be kissing her lips and still be distant. You can be inside her and still not with her, and that's why presence is power. Most men have been conditioned to chase techniques, to memorize routines, to focus on what they can do to a woman rather than how they can be with her. But a woman does not surrender to techniques. She surrenders to energy. She doesn't respond to the mechanics of your touch. She responds to the quality of your awareness, the depth of your stillness, the clarity of your presence. When you strip away all the noise, all the ego, all the need to perform, and instead anchor yourself in the now, with her everything changes. You stop trying to get somewhere. You start feeling everything that's already here. When a woman feels your presence, she stops thinking. She stops analyzing, her mind quiets down, she stops worrying about how she looks, how she sounds, how she performs. Her body, no longer under scrutiny, begins to express itself freely. She moans without filter, she arches without shame, she squirts without hesitation, because in the presence of your presence, she feels safe enough to be wild, safe enough to be real, safe enough to let go. And letting go is the key to unlocking everything. But your presence must be rooted in patience. If you bring urgency into the moment, if you push, rush, or try to control, you destroy the environment required for release. A woman cannot open when she feels pressure. She cannot access pleasure when she senses your expectations. Presence says, I'm here with you, not to achieve something, but to explore you. Presence says, you are enough as you are, and I am in no hurry. That's what softens her. That's what makes her body unfold like a flower, layer by layer, until she reaches a state of pleasure she didn't even know she could access. To be fully present, you must release the fear of silence. You must learn to be still in the moment without needing to fill the space. Don't rush to the next move. Don't anticipate her next reaction. Watch her, feel her, let your breath sync with hers. Let your body respond to her, not the script in your head. When you do this, her body starts to trust your rhythm. Her heart starts to follow your lead. And that trust is what creates the possibility of surrender. Let's be real. A woman won't squirt because you pressed a button. She'll squirt because she trusted you enough to lose control. She'll squirt because your presence made her feel like she didn't need to hold back. It's a release of tension, a climax of safety, a physical explosion rooted in emotional stability. And none of that happens without you being there fully, consciously, emotionally available in every moment. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be a master. You just need to be real, present, attuned. Don't worry about impressing her. Worry about feeling her. Listen not just to her words, but to her body. Listen to the pauses between her breaths, to the subtle ways she moves her hips, to the sound of her inhale when you kiss her neck. Everything is information, and if you're present, you'll hear it all, you'll feel it all. Presence also means not bringing your past into the present moment, Leave behind the voices that tell you you're not enough. Silence the doubts that make you perform instead of connect. She doesn't want a performance. She wants you, the raw, grounded, intentional version of you, the version of you that doesn't seek validation, but offers value through presence. That's the you that unlocks her. That's the you that allows her to feel completely safe in your arms and on your tongue and under your fingers. Because in that moment, you're not just touching her body, you're holding her existence with reverence. Most men miss this. They chase her orgasm, her reaction, her squirting, as if it's a trophy to collect. But the true masculine understands that his job isn't to collect, it's to create space. Space for her to blossom. Space for her to feel. Space for her to let go so completely that her body expresses pleasure in ways she never imagined. That expression comes only in presence, not technique, not ego, not pressure. Just presence. Consistent, grounded, sensual presence that makes her forget the world and remember her deepest, most liberated self. Trust is the foundation upon which all deep pleasure is built. Without trust, a woman's body remains guarded. No matter how skilled your touch is or how well you think you're performing, if she doesn't trust you, on an emotional, mental, and energetic level, her body will hold tension instead of release it. Her pleasure will stay within safe boundaries, never crossing into the uninhibited space where true surrender lives. And that surrender is where squirting happens, not through force, but through a soft, unfolding permission to let go of control. Building anticipation through trust is not about games or manipulation. It's about consistency, integrity, and emotional presence. It starts long before you ever touch her. It starts with how you speak to her, how you respond when she's vulnerable, how you hold space for her feelings without trying to fix or minimize them. A woman remembers these things. She stores every interaction with you inside her nervous system, and that determines whether she opens to you or shuts down around you. Foreplay is not just what you do in the bedroom, it's how you move through your entire connection with her. The way you look at her matters, the way you respond to her silence matters, the tone you use when she's unsure or insecure matters. When you show her that she can be all of herself around you, messy, loud, emotional, strong, soft, dominant, submissive, without being judged, something deep in her begins to soften. That's when the anticipation starts to build. Not because you touched her, but because she feels safe enough to want to be touched. That desire doesn't come from arousal alone. It comes from emotional safety, and once that's established, her anticipation builds from within. She starts craving your hands, your breath, your presence, not because she feels obligated, but because her body is finally ready. Anticipation is the slow burn that transforms physical interaction into emotional depth. It's not about rushing to get to the peak, it's about savoring every part of the journey. And when trust is present, you can stretch that anticipation endlessly. Every kiss lingers longer. Every whisper carries more weight. Every look becomes a signal that her pleasure is your priority, not your ego's pursuit. That's where real connection begins to form. That's where she starts surrendering to the moment, allowing her mind to slip away from control and into sensation. To build trust, you must release your own need for instant gratification. You must become someone who understands the difference between performance and presence. She will feel the difference. If you're rushing to make something happen, she'll tense up. If you're trying to prove your masculinity through domination or speed, she'll subconsciously pull away. But if your energy says, take your time, I'm here for all of you, not just the parts that feel good, she'll begin to trust not just your words, but your energy. And that energy will be the signal her body responds to. A woman's pleasure is deeply tied to her emotions. She can't separate the two the way some men do. Her body remembers every emotional experience, every time she was dismissed, rushed, used, ignored, or shamed. When you interact with her, she's subconsciously scanning for danger. She's checking to see if you're different, if you're safe, if you can handle the fullness of her without running away or reducing her to a goal. And every time you respond with patience instead of pressure, empathy instead of ego, softness instead of demand, you earn more of her trust. Not just in words, but in her body's language, the way her breath deepens, the way her shoulders drop, the way her hips start moving with rhythm instead of tension. That's when anticipation becomes a sacred thing. Not something manufactured, but something grown, moment by moment, interaction by interaction. You look into her eyes and she sees that you're really there, not distracted, not rehearsing, just present. She feels that, she trusts that, and her body begins to lean into you more. Her mind starts to slow down. The voice that says, "Is this too much?" or "Is this safe?" gets quieter, and in that space, anticipation becomes pleasure. Her arousal builds not just in her body, but in her chest, her throat, her belly. Her entire being starts to vibrate with possibility. This is how a woman prepares for full body release, not with pressure, but with trust. Not with urgency, but with reverence. The foreplay becomes more than physical. It becomes spiritual, a shared energy exchange that reminds her she is not being used, but honored, that she is not performing, but unfolding. And when she trusts you enough to let her body do what it was made to do, respond, expand, explode, something beautiful happens. Anticipation peaks, not because you forced it, but because you created a safe space for it to grow naturally. That's the real art. It's not about knowing how to touch, but knowing how to wait, how to feel, how to sense her shifts, how to guide her with your presence and patience until she forgets how to hold back. Because when that happens, when she stops holding back completely, her body speaks the language of release. Not in whispers, but in waves. Every woman is a different world. Her body, her rhythm, her energy. None of it is the same as the last. And yet, so many people approach intimacy with the same formula, the same repetitive routine, the same technique they believe will work for every woman, but her body is not a machine. It's not something you operate, it's something you feel. You have to tune in. You have to slow down enough to read what her body is telling you, because she will never say it all with words. Her body is her language, and if you're paying close attention, it will teach you everything you need to know. There's a rhythm to her breath. There's a pattern in her movements. There are signals in the slightest way she tilts her head, the pause before a moan, the tightening of her thighs, the way her hips respond when something feels right or wrong. Most men miss these signs because they're moving too fast. They're so focused on the destination that they lose the connection to the journey. But when you slow down, when you sync your body with hers, when you listen with your hands, your breath, your silence, then her body opens to you like never before. You cannot force her to squirt. You cannot demand it. You cannot expect it. What you can do is learn to meet her where she is. You can stop trying to control her pleasure and instead start following it. Let her body guide you. She will always tell you what she needs through her reactions, her tension, her softness, her stillness, her sounds. This isn't about taking control, it's about feeling into the flow. When her breath changes, you change. When her rhythm shifts, you follow. When she arches more, you support her. When she tightens, you slow down. This is the dance of deep intimacy. It's not rigid, it's not structured, it's fluid, it's alive, and that means being sensitive, not just physically, but emotionally and energetically. It means letting go of the idea that you already know what to do. The truth is, you don't, until her body teaches you. One woman may respond to gentle, slow pressure. Another may need intensity, depth, vibration, a specific pattern that only reveals itself when she trusts you enough to give feedback with her body. That's why patience is everything. You must earn the information her body is giving you. You must show her that you're not just touching her for your own satisfaction, but to truly connect with what she's feeling underneath the surface. This process is sacred. It's not about you proving something. It's about creating a space where her body feels free to express itself. When a woman starts to feel safe and stimulated, her body starts to speak louder. Her moans change, her hands grip, her legs shake, her pelvis lifts. And if you're present, you'll know exactly what each sign means. But that presence only becomes effective when you stop moving from memory and start moving from awareness. You need to be with her in every second, not ahead of her, not behind her, but with her. That's the only way you'll ever find the rhythm that leads to deep release. One of the biggest mistakes many make is assuming that more pressure, more speed, or more intensity is the key. But most of the time, what's needed is the exact opposite. Stillness, breath, and sensitivity. Let her body ask for more before you give it. Let her movement build gradually. When you hit a spot that makes her gasp, stay there. Don't rush past it. Don't assume she wants something else. Feel her body react. Pay attention to the consistency of her breath, the way her hips pulse, the depth of her sound. Her body is giving you instructions if you slow down enough to hear them. And in this space of deep connection, you'll start to notice patterns. You'll begin to understand how her energy rises, how it collects in her pelvis, how her pleasure radiates through her whole body. You'll see that her pleasure is not linear. It rises, falls, expands, collapses. Some moments are filled with fire, others with silence. Don't fear the quiet moments. Those are the spaces where something deeper is brewing. Sometimes the stillness before the wave is where the magic happens. When you finally sync with her rhythm, something beautiful begins to unfold. Her body starts trusting your leadership because it no longer feels manipulated. It feels mirrored. She feels seen. She feels understood. And from that place of deep attunement, the gates begin to open. Squirting, in its essence, is not just about physical stimulation. It's about releasing into a space where she's no longer trying to control the outcome. Her mind isn't thinking, her body isn't resisting, her heart isn't guarded. She is just there, fully immersed, fully open, fully connected. This kind of connection requires more than skill, it requires humility. The humility to admit that her body is wiser than your plan. The humility to follow instead of lead. The humility to be quiet enough to hear her, soft enough to receive her, steady enough to hold her. It's not about having all the answers. It's about asking her body the right questions and being still enough to listen to the response. That's where the rhythm is found, not in your head, but in her breath. Not in a book, but in her moans. Not in repetition, but in revelation. Letting go is not easy for anyone, but for a woman, the act of letting go during intimacy, especially to the point of something as raw and unfiltered as squirting, requires something beyond technique. It requires a complete dismantling of control, a surrender so deep that she no longer holds herself back mentally, emotionally, or physically. And that surrender doesn't come naturally, it must be invited. It must be coaxed out gently, patiently, and consistently. She must feel that it is not only okay to lose control, but that she is safe in doing so. A woman's body is deeply intelligent. It stores memories, shame, trauma, fear, excitement, and desire. And when she is intimate with someone, all those emotional layers are active. She may crave the experience of release, but if even a small part of her feels the need to hold back, to be quiet, to look a certain way, to perform a role, her body will resist. It will tighten, it will protect her, it will keep her from crossing that edge into full, body, uncontrollable expression, not because she doesn't want to, but because she's been conditioned to stay in control, to stay contained, to stay presentable, to stay in her head. That's why your role isn't to try and make her squirt, it's to create the space where she no longer cares if she does, where she no longer worries about mess, sound, appearance, judgment, or performance, where her body becomes something she lives in fully, not something she tries to control or please with. She needs to feel that with you, she is allowed to be everything: loud, wet, wild, shaky, vulnerable, explosive, emotional. She needs to feel that she doesn't have to be good in bed. She just has to be real. And when she feels that, when she trusts that nothing she does will scare you away or make you think less of her, her body begins to unlock. This means you need to become the calm in her storm, the stillness that can hold her chaos. When she begins to shake or cry or gasp or moan in ways she's never let herself before, your energy must remain steady, grounded, open. No laughter, no awkwardness, no pulling away, just a deep, unwavering presence that tells her, you are safe here, all of you. Because as soon as she feels judged or observed, she's back in her head. And the moment she's in her head, the body tightens, that gateway closes. The wave that was building loses momentum. What could have been a deep, powerful release becomes a shallow experience that never fully arrived. Letting go also requires emotional vulnerability. Many women carry shame around their bodies, their responses, their fluids, their sounds. Culture has taught them to be clean, neat, quiet, pretty, submissive. Squirting doesn't fit any of those narratives. It's primal, it's messy, it's unfiltered. So to get there, she must believe down to her bones that you won't flinch when she erupts, that you won't see her differently if she cries or shakes or explodes in a way that surprises even herself. She needs to feel that this moment, this raw and powerful experience, is something you honor, not tolerate, and that requires your emotional maturity. You don't need to say much. You don't need to narrate the experience. What matters is the feeling you radiate. Are you patient? Are you still there for her even after the high fades? Do you clean her up gently or pull away awkwardly? Do you hold her close or do you leave her in her own aftermath? These moments matter. They teach her nervous system what's safe and what's not. If you celebrate her release, if you stay present during the mess and emotion, her body remembers. Next time, she'll let go faster, deeper, more willingly. This is also where your own comfort with surrender matters. If you, as a man, are afraid of losing control, if you have not made peace with your own vulnerability, it will be hard for you to hold hers. She will feel that. She will feel the undercurrent of discomfort, even if you try to hide it. So, your own work is essential. Learn to be okay with not being in control. Learn to see beauty in the chaos. Learn to welcome every part of her without needing to fix or contain her. That is the kind of masculine energy a woman trusts with her most sacred experiences. When a woman squirts, it's more than just fluid leaving the body. It's tension releasing, it's energy moving, it's control being abandoned. It's years of holding it together, finally breaking, and that doesn't happen in an environment of pressure. It happens in an environment of deep trust, deep permission, deep presence. And once she's felt that, once she's experienced the liberation of being so accepted, so loved, so safe that her body chooses to let go, there is no going back. She'll not only squirt, she'll surrender in ways that transform her from the inside out. Her confidence grows, her emotional armor melts, her intimacy with you deepens, not because of what you did, but because of who you were in that moment.